Senator, we don't want to let you go. But rest assured that your legacy is enduring, and we are forever grateful and better for your efforts. Thank you for showing us what a truly great, humble, fierce, and selfless leader can be. We will try to live up to your example. Ladies and gentlemen, a hero of our times, Senator Tom Harkin. I'll take this.
Thank you all for being here.
Oh, you want to use sign? Should I hold it?
If I give my speech in sign language, we'll all be here all day. Maybe all night.
That'll be just fine. That'll be just fine.
So I'll permit the interpreter to sign my speech. What I said was, if I give my talk in sign language, we'd be here all day, maybe all night. That's how slow I am. But thank you very much, and I thank my interpreter for interpreting for me. And Arlene, thank you so much for those kind words. That's really over the top in all the things that you've said, and I deeply appreciate it.
Love you.
You know, we have a saying out in Iowa, maybe you have it here in California, I don't know. It goes like this: if you're driving down a country road and you see a turtle sitting on a fence post, you can be sure of one thing: it didn't get there by itself. So if I'm that turtle and I'm sitting on a fence post, I didn't get there all by myself. I had so much help, so much encouragement from so many people. None, no group of individuals has been more supportive, have been there at every instant of time. From the day I first started in the House, when Jennings Randolph, who was a senator from West Virginia, and I delivered the first decoding machine to Jimmy Carter in the White House. Ever since then, now that was 77. Well, Dredif came along right after that. But no group has been more instrumental in advancing the cause of civil rights for all people with disabilities than Dredif. And I want to thank all of you for all you've done to support this. And it has been a wonderful 40 years. George Miller and I came to the Congress, sworn in on the same day, January 3rd, 1975. And it's so great to be here with him, with he and Cynthia. And we've worked together for so many years on so many things. Now, I always like following George Miller on a lot of things. Now, he got this award in 2012. Okay, I get along a little bit later. The one thing I've always liked about George Miller is, though, he knew how to dress. Here, not only am I in California, I'm among family. Why am I wearing a necktie? He doesn't wear a necktie. So I get to take my necktie off, Miller. I get to be like George Miller. I don't have to wear a necktie. We've done a lot of stuff here. George commented on, said something, I can be an SOB at times or something like that. George wasn't there this day, but one day I was being introduced by Harry Reid, who is our Senate Majority Leader. And he's from that next state over. So Harry Reid was introduced. It had to be at the dedication of the National Peace Institute in Washington, and I'd been instrumental in that. And he said, Harkin's always in there on this, on this, on this. He said, Harkin could give a woodpecker a headache. You know, sometimes you got to give them headaches, don't you? To get their attention. Sometimes you really got to keep beating them up, and I thank Drev. So I kind of fit in with Drev, kind of, you know, in that way. I fit in on being agitated. And Sam and Sherry Farr, who are here, again, two great friends, worked together for so many years. Now, I don't have the exact number. Somebody may have it, I don't know. But Sam in the House and I in the Senate worked, along with George, on the appropriations to get earmarks for the Ed Roberts Center. And I don't know, but I know it's over a few $1 million that we were able to get for the Ed Roberts Center before they cut off the earmarks and stuff. So I just want you to know that your neighbor to the south, Sam Farr, has been very instrumental in helping get the earmarks for this Ed Roberts Center. Thank you, Sam. So we're here to celebrate the 35th anniversary, and as Arlene mentioned, I am retiring this year. I may be retiring from the Senate, but I want you all to know something. I'm not retiring from the fight for disability rights and accessibility and opportunity and the full implementation of the ADA. So a lot of times people ask, well, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to get rid of a lot of the other stuff I've been doing and focus a lot on what I call the unfinished agenda in the disability rights movement. There's a lot more that we can do. I'll say more about that in just a minute. Drake University, which is a small private university in Des Moines, Iowa, has already established a Harkin Institute on Public Policy. I'm leaving all my papers and things like that there. We have a director, former Chief Justice of the Iowa Supreme Court. She's just wonderful. So we have this set up. And what I want it to be is I want it to be a center of excellence in education and training for young people who want to work in disability advocacy, disability law, disability employment, and accessibility. So as you can see, I've already got a marker out there for what I'm going to be doing in this area in the future. But I want you to know that when I grow up, what do I want to be? I want to be Zona Roberts when I grow up. I don't know, Zona's still here, or she go home? Zona's back there. Hey, Zona Roberts, thank you very much. I want to be Zona Roberts when I grow up. I can't hear a thing. She said what?
You can do better than that.
No, I don't think I can do better than that. I don't. But being here at the Ed Roberts Center and seeing his mom, I just get that image of Ed Roberts in my mind's eye, wheeling his chair around the Congress and the Senate, coming into my office. You know, Ed Roberts never just came into your office. He entered it. He had a presence about him when he entered it. He would come in and that chair he had tilted back, and he had that little breathing thing that he would suck on once in a while. I mean, he was so smart. He was so smart. And he had a force about him, a kind of a force about him that just emanated. And when he told you what we ought to do, it's sort of like, did you ever see that movie Star Wars? I think Miller mentioned that or something like that. Star Wars, you know, the Force be with you. You know, they had that Jedi Knights. They had this force that you could feel. To me, Ed Roberts was the original Jedi Knight. He had a force about him that you could just feel when he entered a room and when he spoke to you. So it's, again, for me, an honor to be here once again at the Ed Roberts Center and to receive this wonderful award. Let me also thank Sutita Sayavong for her parent advocacy, who is just here. Thank you. On behalf of all of us, Oh, and Melissa has joined us back. I see Melissa's back again. Good. You know, and again, the PTIC, Parent Training and Information Center that's here, that we have all over the country, they do such wonderful work. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but when I give talks around the country on this issue, I say, you gotta think about, put yourself in the shoes of a young parents, they have a child with a disability, maybe they've never been confronted with that before. They want the best for their child, just like every other parent. They want their child to go to school, to learn, to be taught, to be educated. And they got a lot going on in their lives. I mean, they're probably both working, they have jobs, and all of a sudden the education system says, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, your child has to go here, and they try to conduit your child in a certain direction. And that's why the PTICs are so important, to give these young parents not only the information and the knowledge they need, their rights, but also to help them exercise those rights in the schools. And so that's why when I see a young parent like this, I say, you know, that's so important to have these parent advocates. But it also raises the question in my mind, why do we need to have that kind of advocacy? The system needs to change. It needs to change so that you don't have to fight. So parents don't have to fight so hard just so their child has the same rights and opportunities as every other American child, as guaranteed under the Americans with Disabilities Act. But to change that system, we need the PTICs, and I thank Dretta Farley. Thank all of you for what you do in those training and information centers. They're just so, so important. Well, there's one person who is not here this evening. I know she's been under the weather. I'm going to give her a call this evening. But in all the fights in the 80s leading up to the ADA and the passage and everything since then, implementation of Olmstead, the ADA Act amendments, regulations, no one has been more consistent, forceful, and been my companion woodpecker. No one has been that companion to me more than Pat Wright. Pat Wright has just been there every step of the way. So I'm sorry she can't be here this evening, but our thoughts are with her and hope she is back on her feet very shortly. And what can I say about Arlene Mayerson? You know, I said something to somebody coming in here earlier this afternoon. You know, you go to any law school in the country, go to any law firm, go to their law libraries, and if you want to look up something about disability law, precedents, cases, development of policy, development of law, all you have to do is look under Myerson, comma, Arlene, and you will find all you need to know about the law dealing with people with disabilities. And so I just can't thank Arlene enough for all she's done to inform, make sure people understand what the law is and the development and the court decisions that have moved us so far forward in this country. And Mary Lou Breslin, I've lost contact and eye contact with Mary Lou and also Marilyn Golden. I know you're here because I saw you earlier. Thank you for your wonderful leadership through all these years here with Dretta. Rhonda Newhouse, my thorn in my side in Washington, D.C. Right over here, Rhonda. Thank you for coming out, for all you do. Your executive director, Susan Henderson, who's also here. Where did I lose contact with Susan? Over here, I saw earlier. There's another person here who is here and I tell you, I just love her because, again, she uses her abilities to inform people through her radio network and her networks all over America about what's happening with disability rights. She focuses both on the good, the things that are happening that are good, but also sometimes focusing on the things that aren't good that need to change. And there's no one who does a better job of that nationally and getting people aware and alert nationally than Joyce Bender, who is sitting right here. Joyce Bender probably has done more to inform people about disability employment and jobs for people with disabilities than just any other person I've ever met. And when I said that I feel like that turtle on the lamppost, I think of people like Lee Persley, who's here. Lee, who's been my disability person for so many years. Who's not here, but Bobby Silverstein. Many of you remember Bobby. Andy Imperato. And Michael Gamble McCormick, who's on my staff now. So many people. So many good people. And we made some good progress, and we still continue to do so. George Miller and I worked together over a long period of time. It took us 5 years to get the reauthorization of the Workforce Investment Act done. But we stuck to it, we finally got it done. It's now called the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. But in that is also the reauthorization of the Rehab Act. And what we did in that was we changed some provisions in there that now provide for pre-employment services to young people with disabilities to get them ready for competitive integrated employment when they finish school, or for them to go on to higher education, to prepare them for higher education or for the workforce. And to the point where, things like summer jobs, things like internships, job coaching, job training, working with VR to do that. VR's never done this. Now they will, because of the bill that we got passed, just signed into law by President Obama just, a month or two ago, right? It has always bothered me that young people come out of school with disabilities, either intellectual disabilities or physical disabilities, or perhaps both, and right away they get shunted into a sub-minimum wage job that's dead end. They never get any kind of skills upgrading, and they're just there, lost, in a sub-minimum wage job. Well, this is going to change that. This now says, okay, every young person with a disability, you're going to go and get a competitive integrated employment, not sub-minimum wage. There's a lot of hoops that employers are going to have to go through before they can hire somebody at sub-minimum wage. So the idea is the default position is not sub-minimum wage, it's competitive integrated employment at full wage. So I'm relying on Joyce Bender to continue to get that word out too, nationally, to our employers. We're making headway. We're making some headway. The 4 goals of the ADA: equal opportunity, full participation, independent living, economic self-sufficiency. Well, in some areas we've done all right. We've done all right. In mobility, pretty much so. Buses, you mentioned the curb cuts, widened doors, ramps. Every building designed and built in America today is fully accessible. Every single one. Now, some of the old ones haven't, and they got a ways to go. I understand that. But there's one transportation nut that I haven't cracked yet, and I've been on it for 20 years. But we're finally making headway. Do you know that when you go to London, England, and you hail a taxi, Every taxi is fully accessible. Has a ramp that comes out. The doors are big. Every single taxi. So if you're a person with a disability, you don't have to call ahead. You can be right out there in the curb, hail a taxi, and it's fully accessible. In London. We can't do that here. So I've been working on this for a long damn time. We're finally making headway. We had a new mayor elected in New York City by the name of Bill de Blasio. Great guy. I'd been working with Bloomberg before, but he didn't get it. Why can't they just call for one? I said, well, my God, you're using a wheelchair, it's a rainy evening, you're out there, your cell phone battery went dead, what the hell are you gonna do? Well, get a friend to call. I said, no, you don't understand the concept of ADA, equal opportunity, full participation. So, Bill de Blasio becomes mayor, takes it to his city council. This spring, New York City Council voted that by 2020, 50% of all their taxi cabs will be fully accessible in New York City. Now, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has already said that by 2017, 25% of their cabs. So we're on the move. Now we need to get Berkeley and San Francisco on track to get their taxi cabs accessible. So we're working, we're making changes. That's something else I want to continue to work on too. But a lot of people always think of the ADA. I think if you ask the average person about the ADA, they'd probably think, you know, those curb cuts and those parking signs, you go to park. But it was more than that. I always define the ADA this way. Prior to July 26th of 1990, think about that, the day before, if you were a person of color, or maybe you had a certain religious affiliation, maybe you were Jewish, and you went down to apply for a job for which you were qualified. You saw the ad in the paper, and you went down to apply for that job. And you walked in there, and the prospective employer looked at you and said, I don't hire colored people. I don't hire Jews. Get out of here. You could go right down to the courthouse, and the courthouse door was open because of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which said you can't discriminate on the basis of race, sex, color, national origin. But if that day before July the 26th, you were a person using a wheelchair, and you went down to apply for a job for which you were qualified, and you rolled that wheelchair in there, and the prospective employer looked at you and said, get out of here, we don't hire cripples. And you rolled that wheelchair down to the courthouse door. Courthouse door was locked. It was perfectly legal to discriminate on the basis of a disability. When President Bush signed that bill that next day, that courthouse door got opened. No longer would it be legal to discriminate against anyone with a disability from here on out. So it was a broad civil rights bill. Yes, it encompasses things like mobility, certainly education, participation, the physical infrastructure. But it was even more than that. It was about breaking down the attitudinal barriers that people have. It didn't happen overnight. But I believe today, looking back over 20 years now, 24 years, 25 next year, that attitudes have changed. Oh, not with everybody, I got that. But I think the broad scope of the American people, attitudes have changed about people with disabilities for a number of reasons. First of all, children go to school together, disabled and non-disabled. So kids grow up together. They don't think it's any big deal to work alongside someone with a disability. more and more, people are fully integrated in this manner. So the attitudinal barriers start to come down. We're starting to see people employed in jobs that never would have happened before. You understand that, yes, people with disabilities can work and do jobs and be an important part of our economic structure in America. So the attitudes are changing. It used to be that, and it still is among a lot of people, that people who are non-disabled look upon someone with a disability and they feel that they have to pity them. And they have to patronize. They have to pat you on the head. And they have to do all those kinds of things. Well, I've also been a part of the group called No More Pity. What we want is accessibility and opportunity and participation and the right to engage our abilities to the fullest extent possible, just like anybody else. So that's sort of what it's meant to me. It's just breaking down the attitudinal barriers. Now, again, as I say, I know we still have some problems out there. I will not be happy. I mentioned the taxi cabs. I will not be happy until Olmsted is fully integrated in our society and that every person can live where he or she wants to live. Now, again, one of my failures. I didn't succeed in doing it, but we keep trying. And we haven't, George and I have a bill in again this year to finally break down that Medicaid bias in Medicaid that says they'll pay for you to go to a nursing home, but not if you want to live in a community. It's time to get rid of that Medicaid bias. So we do have some things to go. And last, I'll just say this, the last thing we tried. We're going to try again. I know Rhonda's been working so hard on this in Washington, and that's to pass the Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities. People raise all kinds of issues about, it's going to erode our sovereignty. That's just nonsense. Absolute, total nonsense. We need to have a vote on this. We need to bring it up for a vote. Now, it's not in the House, it's only the Senate. And of course, under the Constitution, we need 2/3 vote to ratify a treaty. We failed by 5 votes in 2012. We need to bring it up again. And I'm here to tell you that hopefully sometime this month, before we break in October, we are going to do everything humanly possible to bring it up again on the Senate floor for another vote. So listen, I went on too long. Went on way too long. No, listen, but again, I just want to thank you for being who you are, for not giving up. Ed Roberts never gave up. He just never gave up. And we shouldn't either. We still have some unfinished business to do. As I retire from the Senate, as I said, I'll be there with you. We're going to continue to fight on these issues as we move ahead. But I just, from the bottom of my heart, want to thank you for this honor and for letting me be a part of your family. For letting me be a part of your family for these 40 years that I've been privileged to represent you. 10 years in the House, 30 in the United States Senate. I have been proud to be your United States Senator and to carry this fight, to be alongside of you all the way. And so again, I thank you for letting me be a part of your family. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I've just been given a bouquet of flowers. Men don't usually get flowers. And you're right, it's not for me. It's for me to give to the person who I think really embodies and has for all these 30 years she's been here, Arlene Myers. For you, not for me. Thank you all very, very much.